We're back. Sorry for that mini pause there.
Unscheduled part 2.
Unscheduled part 2. Yes, the George Duke album, George Duke and Feel. Just got this album, I think I got it on eBay actually. It's the Japanese release of this album. And it sounds absolutely fantastic.
That sounds great.
Really amazing. Got me, I mean, it sounds so fantastic, got me really interested in who had recorded and mixed it. And this is Kerry McNabb, who it turns out has done loads of stuff with Frank Zappa, who in fact appears on this album as under the name Obdevil X. Just a fantastic sort of early 70s funk jazz fusion album, but very kind of unself-conscious. Some incredible bass synth work from George Duke and some phenomenal drumming from Ndugu.
Really recommend George Duke's website actually. And obviously George is sadly not with us anymore, but his website's got some great information about all the records from this time on there. Definitely worth it.
A lot of that 70s George Duke stuff is really, really worth investigating, and very, I don't know, not properly recognised for how brilliant it is.
Ask Thundercat.
Ask Thundercat, who knows.
Then I think we had a break, didn't we? Or maybe we didn't, but maybe I jumped to, I think, what was the first or second Tortoise album. I can't quite remember what the sequence was. And we didn't play it all actually, we played part of the first track, DJ'd on here, which sounded great. Kind of Tortoise has always been, I've always not been a major fan of Tortoise, but I've been interested in this, and it sounded good.
We said it was a mixture of the Canterbury scene,
krautrock
and dub.
Yeah, which is works for me.
Led us neatly into this nice special edition Holger Tsukai, bass player of Can, a sort of EP on a lovely slab of white vinyl. And we listened to the track called Fragrance. Quite strange, but compelling stuff.
Great.
Yeah, it sounded really nice.
I don't need much excuse to play Yola Tango really, and went back to what for me was probably the first of their really interesting albums, which is Painful, and played their most famous song, which is Big Day Coming. If you haven't checked out, Roger Coleman's a kind of big guy on the VC now, as he really should be, and elsewhere. If you haven't checked his blog out, he wrote some great stuff about this record on an earlier blog on newvoidblogspot.com. Big Day Coming.
Okay. This is an album that I know has been shown many times on the VC, but it felt that it slotted in rather nicely after Yola Tango. Yola Tango?
Yo La Tango.
Yo La Tango. And it's Beck's Morning Phase, and we listened to the track called Heart is a Drum. Sounds great on vinyl, this album, and yeah, it's just got a very sort of, I don't know, very distinctive sound on this, and it's been a great album of the year for me so far, one of the best new albums of the year.
I really like Beck. I mean, I think he's kind of got, he just understands a whole lot of music actually. You can tell he's listened to a lot of music to get where he is. And I then kind of went slightly left field and went for Fleetwood Mac. Went for Tusk, which I've been slightly obsessed with recently, I must admit. And played the track That's All For Everyone off it. I mean, this is an amazing record really, when you think it came after Rumours, which is also a great record, a great pop record, but this is really, sounds kind of radical and interesting even now. Yeah, so, you know, you can probably pick this up for a couple of bucks anywhere you want, but it's definitely worth a listen to.
And yes, it seemed to fit snugly between Beck and Frippanino, Evening Star. This has just been released on a nice 180 gram vinyl slab, along with No Pussyfooting. And this was the second Frippanino collaboration album. The first side has 4 tracks, the second side is just 1 long track. But it has that really nice mix of the kind of Frippatronics, sort of endlessly looped guitar, sort of fragmented guitar pieces overlaid with Eno synth. And obviously we are sort of here at the dawn of Eno's sort of imagining of ambient music. But it's never kind of background music. It's still kind of quite unsettling and interesting to listen to.
Definitely. Do we really go from that to this?
What about where your CDs, John?
Yeah, but I mean, we haven't had those yet. Actually.
Haven't we?
No, I
Okay.
don't think so. Okay. No,
No, we didn't.
You played something before this. Actually.
You played Love.
Oh, I played Love. That's right.
Yeah.
Next up, I went for a CD next and went for Alone Again Or from Love's Forever Changes. I mean, there's not much to say about this record really, apart from it's absolutely classic. There's not a duff track on it. Yeah, just love this record.
And that particular track, I have to say, did really remind me of Ride My Seesaw by the Moody Blues, In Search of the Lost Chord. Yeah, they are very kind of innovative band of the time. Sort of went from sounding like a very ordinary blues band, and then obviously had a bit of a 1967 experience and went very different and very experimental. I picked this album up very cheaply last year, and it's great. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And there was a kind of connection going on. I think it was something to do with the vocal sound on the record, and I went for the Birds, and I've got this on vinyl, but I went for the CD version because I love the alternative version of Lover of the Bayou on here, the studio version. It features one of my absolute favourite ever guitarists, who's Clarence White, who I think is a kind of unsung genius, really. Fantastic flat picking, playing on a Telecaster and so forth. So yeah, Birds Untitled, which was kind of, I guess, was probably the second or third phase of the band, but very underrated record. And the studio version of Love of the Bayou is exceptional.
And that was the kind of, there was that sort of post music from the Big Pink band vibe going on, where people had kind of moved on a bit from the psychedelic sound and were sounding kind of a bit more rootsy and folky possibly. But this album was very much from that period. Dave Mason, who used to be the guitarist with Traffic and Mama Cass, and I think a very underrated album actually. Some great players on this, including Russ Kunkel on the drums. And we listened to the track called Walk to the Point.
Sounded very, very good indeed.
Sounded excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Staying on that kind of LA, kind of West Coast sound, the first Jackson Browne album, first track, Jamaica Say You Will. I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard this and knows this one. But yeah, kind of, I remember playing this record to death when it came out, actually.
Russ on drums again.
Russ on drums, Clarence White on guitar. There was a kind of weird connection between this one and the last one. Anyway, still sounds good. Great songwriter, Jackson Browne.
And another album from the same kind of period. This is 1973. This is Terry Reid, The River. Terry Reid, who was a British singer, songwriter. And we've mentioned him before.
Yeah.
And I mean, I kind of became obsessed with him about 2 years ago. I didn't really know anything about him, and John introduced me to him. And I had this on CD, and I just found it in a shop in Canterbury a few months ago, and I had to get it. Just a fantastic album. It's got David Lindley heavily featured on it. It's got Willie Bobo on percussion. We listened to the track called River. I highly recommend it. It sort of was reminding us both a little bit of the groove of The Ghetto by Donny Hathaway, but then it kind of goes into a sort of bossa nova and then a really interesting chord progression. But there's something about Terry Reid's voice. He really does sound like he means it, and very kind of real, and really recommend it.
Completely timeless as well. I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, that album, I can't remember the name of the album after, which Graham Nash produced. It's fantastic. Then we had a break. Seed of Memory, which is also brilliant. I mean, those two records together are fantastic, I think. Then we had a break, I stress, because we didn't jump from and then I thought, you have to, this week is would have been the 100th birthday of Sun Ra, so we had to play some Sun Ra. This is actually a bit of a personal favourite for me, this record, Astro Black. Came out on Impulse. It was one of the ones which was recorded, which was for Impulse, which was, sorry Mark,
yeah,
I'm blocking it. It's actually a quadraphonic recording, this. And it features, I played the title track, Astro Black. I kind of I really love the Sun Ra records with Ronnie Boykins, the bass player on there. I think he just makes such a difference to the sound. Yeah, Sun Ra, what you can say. I mean,
and it was a duet really with synth and
synth and bowed bass on there as well. Yeah, I mean, for me, one of the most influential musicians there is actually. Yeah, I don't think I would be in this stuff if it wasn't for Sun Ra.
And listening to a kind of duet, a slightly odd duet, got me thinking of this album, Chico Hamilton. Chico Hamilton and the Players, in fact. And the track we listened to was a duet between Steve Turre, who's normally known as a trombonist, but is playing electric bass on this album. Apparently he hadn't played since he was at college. This was a completely improvised piece called Sex is a Symbol, which features pretty much Chico Hamilton almost exclusively just playing his hi-hat, and Steve Turre playing, just improvising with chords and bass lines, and very, just in a way not much happening, but gets you really listening. Some lovely kind of detail in the playing.
It's a great record. I mean, it actually sounds like no other Chico Hamilton record before or after it, actually.
And it's got Arthur Blythe on it as well. Yeah, very nice album.
The Steve Turre collection took me to Woody Shaw, and this is Woody 3, which was one of the series of albums he made for CBS, or Columbia. Kind of odd to think that an artist like him would get in and be able to make Arthur Blythe, that's all you just mentioned, of course, was signed to Columbia at the same time, and played the track Woody 1. I mean, for me, Woody Shaw is absolutely one of the unsung heroes of probably him and Andrew Hill, who I've talked about a lot on the VC, are two of the most underrated musicians around, actually. And it's a great track. We played the track Woody 1, which is also called On the Newark as well, actually. Love Woody. I think he's an amazing player.
Well, he also features on this track, which is one of the new Blue Note reissues, and it's Larry Young and the album Unity, which features Woody Shaw on trumpet, Joe Henderson on the tenor, Larry Young on the organ, and Elvin Jones on the drums. And we listened to the track The Moon Train,
which is written by Woody.
And just to say, these, Don Was has taken over at Blue Note, and he's doing this huge reissue program. I think 4 albums a month, and this has been remastered by Bernie Grunman, who's a fantastic mastering engineer, and they're all coming out at a very reasonable price, and there's a download as well, and to my ears and to John's it was sounding pretty damn good.
Very good and very clean, and just look at that graphic design. Hold it up again. I mean, everyone knows this, but it's fantastic. Yeah. Sticking with Joe Henderson, went for a kind of much later period, Blue Note, and volume 1 of the State of the Tenor, live at the British Vanguard, which is Joe Henderson with Ron Carter and Al Foster, and played the track Loose Change. I mean, this is a kind of, when somebody says this is the state of something, you have to think it has to be good, and this album really, really is good. Actually, a fantastic record. I mean, both volumes of that. I don't know if volume 2 ever came out on vinyl, but I've got CD versions and vinyl versions of these. But yeah, composition by Ron Carter, Loose Change, just kind of beautiful stuff.
And amazing, just a trio, but it just sounds so full. And sort of Ron Carter playing a lovely kind of bass line with chords to back the sax.
Love Joe Henderson.
Another recent reissue of an older classic is this album, Sam Rivers, Contrasts, which has just come out on ECM. It has the ECM sound in the sense that it has that kind of airy, spacious sound, but actually the playing doesn't sound particularly like ECM. It's fairly abstract, complex. You know, you need to listen to it. It's not in any way background music. It's got Dave Holland on the bass, George Lewis on the trombone, Thurman Barker on the drums and the marimba, and obviously Sam Rivers on the sax. We listened to the track called Circles.
Okay. I saw this band around. I mean, I have to say that this record's, I've got this on vinyl first time around, and the remaster sounds better than the original, which is great for the remaster. But also I saw this band around the same time, and they also had Joe Daly, who's a tuba player, playing with them as well. Fantastic. Sam Rivers is kind of giant, really. Sticking with ECM, went for a much earlier ECM record for the Stanley Cowell Trio with Stanley Clarke and Jimmy Hops, and played the track Miss Vicky, which has been hugely sampled. Actually, I think it may well be the most sampled ECM record ever. Stanley Cowell obviously associated with Strata East and that whole kind of sound as well. But it's a kind of, yeah, it's a very nice record.
It's a very funky tune.
Very funky tune.
Really great.
Yeah.
Then my last tune was a new artist, an album that's just come out this year, I think. Well, it's an EP, I should say. And the artist is called Eska. She's from Southeast London. She actually happens to be the associate artist where I'm working at the moment, at the Albany in Deptford. She's been around for a little while. She was quite involved in the sort of the broken beat scene of a few years ago. She just sounds very original. There's definitely an element of kind of Joni Mitchell and kind of new folk, but she's also very soulful. She plays the viola. She's a great songwriter, and she's collaborating with Matthew Herbert and David Akumu.
Yeah.
On this album.
He's a great guitarist, actually.
So you can get this on Bandcamp, Eska, Eska.
Yeah, it sounded good. And something about the dynamics of this, and I really wish I hadn't played this record now, because I've now got to pronounce her name, actually. I think her name is Adriana Calcon-Hoto, but if anyone's watching from Brazil or Portugal, I apologise in advance. This is from the album Maré, which was from about 5 years ago. She's a big star in Brazil. This record's co-produced by her and Arto Lindsay, who, of course, famous kind of New York no-wave artist. Very nice record. Yeah, just kind of something about the dynamics of the Eska record reminded me of this one, really, and that was my last tune.
We had been hoping that we were going to put up a link. We'd carefully, with the help of my new Rager preamp, there it is, has got a very handy little port for a USB lead, which we stuck into the computer. So we kind of recorded everything onto GarageBand, and just at the point we were trying to upload it onto Mixcloud, it doesn't seem to want to go. So it feels like it's an iTunes issue.
Might be an iTunes issue.
But we're going to keep persevering.
Yeah.
But yes.
If not, we'll sing all the time. All the tunes on Bandcamp.
There's a lot of work for nothing. Well, I've got them on iTunes. I've got the session on iTunes. So yeah, that's it, folks.
Yeah.
Just quick hello to Andrew, Champion Sound. I've been noting some great videos from him. Teddy. Great to see Van. Secca Funk is back. That's fantastic news.
Yeah.
JC68, Big Star, 1000, Chris Basket.
Anders, Roger,
yeah.
Derek, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking good out there.
Yeah, it's looking great. Okay, till the next time.
Till next time.
Yeah, leave us some comments. See you soon.
Take care.